What's up, everybody? Good to see you guys here one more time as we are on our journey in living a compelling life. Today, I want to talk about something and really expose a lie that's too good to be true. Now, on the surface, when I say it, a lot of people are going to be a little confused, but honestly, just like any lie, it could hold 75% truth, so to speak, but that 25% that they could be unclear about, or that could be a little foggy or be a little gray, that could literally change the whole narrative. So one lie that I want to expose, and a lie that's too good to be true, is things will eventually just get better. Things will eventually get better. Things will eventually change and work in my behalf over time. And I want to expose that lie because we live in a time where a lot of people are struggling with a lot of different things in a lot of different areas. People are really having a hard time in life, and they're desperately looking for hope. They're desperately looking for any kind of reason to keep believing and keep going. So when they say these things and they hear these comments and they have all these phrases of, oh man, things are going to get better. And I get it. People say it in passing as a sign of encouragement, or to kind of give them a little bit of motivation and inspiration. But honestly, this notion that things will eventually just get better, it's not a holistic approach. So what I want to do today is present the whole picture and really, really see how things could eventually get better. But this notion that things are just going to get better over time, it really is a lie too good to be true. Now, what makes this lie in particular so attractive? Let's be honest. Some lies, when we hear it, it doesn't come across as a lie, but it's so attractive. It's like itching ears. It's like, oh man, that sounds good. Say it again. It sounds so good. And what makes certain lies so attractive, especially this one, the level of passivity to it. Meaning, I don't have to do anything. If I just keep doing what I'm doing, I don't have to do anything. This is just a season that I'm in. We hear all these different phrases. Oh, this is just a season that I'm in. I'm going through a hard season, or I'm going through a hard time in my life. And, if I don't necessarily have to do anything, things will just eventually get better. Things will just, this time is going to pass. You know what? Things are just eventually going to get better. I hear it all the time. This is my year. This is my year of breakthrough. This is my year of financial freedom. I'm going to be financially free. This is the year I'm going to get rich. This is the year, oh my God, all my dreams are going to come true. This is my year. I'm going to lose that weight. This is my year. 2021, this is my year. And then we hear it again. 2022, this is my year. 2023, no, I know I said it before, but 2023, this is my year. 2024, and we'll hear it over and over and over again. And it's like, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over again, but expecting a different result. So when I say it's actually impossible, what do I mean by that? We live on Earth where there's certain laws in place. For example, the law of gravity. Whether you believe it or not, gravity exists. This thing is real, whether you believe it or not. We can't necessarily see it, but it exists. For example, wherever you are right now, try jumping. Maybe in a standing place, just try jumping. I won't say jump off something because I know some people will actually do it. There's some crazy bold people out there. So I won't say jump off something, but let's just say, depending on where you are right now, try jumping. Just jump up and down. Whether you believe it or not, if you jump in the air, you're going to fall back down. Gravity is going to pull you back down. Depending on how big you are, you may come down a little faster than other people, but gravity is going to pull you back down. There's certain laws in place. So, for example, there's one of the laws of thermodynamics says the law of entropy. Things don't just get better for the sake of getting better. The law of entropy says change is constant, and anything left to itself, it won't just get better. It actually deteriorates. It actually gets worse. So if you just leave it alone, and say, hey, you know what? It's going to get better. I don't have to do anything. That plant, I don't have to do anything to it. I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm not going to water it. I'm not going to make sure it has sun. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to feed it. I'm not going to do anything to it. It'll just get better. It'll just grow, and it'll just bear fruit one day. I don't have to do anything. It's impossible. And for so many people, we believe this lie when we don't seem to realize it's impossible to get better just for the sake of getting better. So, hey, one person or one personality type or an individual, let's say they struggle with procrastination. All my procrastinators out there. It's not going to get better if we procrastinate. If we keep procrastinating, it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. So let's say there's a conversation that needs to be had. Think about it. If you know a conversation, let's say you offended somebody, that conversation that you know needs to be had, it won't get better just over time. It won't get better. It won't necessarily just change and fix everything over time. And honestly, in some scenarios, depending on the offense or depending on the type of conversation, over time, it'll actually get worse. Now, I know some people will go, well, Jason, time heals all wounds, right? Time heals all wounds. Well, wounds untreated gets worse. Wounds untreated leave scars. Think about that. You received the wound, you received some kind of injury, some kind of accident, and if you didn't treat it, I have a scar on my right leg. There was an incident that happened when I was younger, and I never got stitches, I never got treated. I have a scar. So yeah, time heals all wounds. So when you see the individual, it doesn't sting as much. You see the individual, you didn't necessarily have the conversation that you needed to have. So when you see them, let's say 5 years from now, it doesn't hurt as much. So time healed that wound to a degree, but any wound untreated is going to leave a scar. So for all my procrastinators out there, I know there's conversations that need to be had. Don't just think that, it's just going to eventually get better. I don't need to talk about it. It's a lot. For all those tasks that we try to avoid, for those tasks that we're like, you know what, I don't necessarily want to do, for those errands or those chores, dishes, I promise, prime example, dishes. We can go, you know what, we could have a house well cleaned. You know, maybe we spent half a day cleaning it. I know this happens probably to so many different people, but it happened to me recently. Recently just went through spring cleaning, cleaned up the house, etc. And hard Saturday. So Sunday comes around, there's a couple of dishes in the sink. And what do we do? I'll get to it later. It's not that big of a deal. You know what? I spent so much energy cleaning up the house yesterday. So, you know, it's okay. And now those 2 plates and a couple of forks and maybe a cup or two, over time, now it turns into 10 plates and more than 2 or 3 forks and knives, etc., 10 cups. And then over time, it builds up. And then we look at that. Maybe it was half full. Now we're looking at that full sink and it's like, oh my God, I just cleaned it up. Now, and what happens? We feel defeated. It's like, oh man, I spent all that energy. Now I got to clean it. I don't feel like doing anything left to itself. It won't just magically get better. It won't just magically change. So for all my procrastinators out there, once again, it cut me. So I'm just kind of sharing the pain, so to speak, but it won't get better over time. We have to be intentional in making things get better. So now that I broke that down a little bit, I want to propose something to you guys. Nothing changes if nothing changes. Nothing changes if nothing changes. Nothing will change in your life. Nothing will change in your finances. Nothing will change in your relationship. Nothing will change really in your life if you do nothing different. This ideology that things will just eventually get better. I know it's super hopeful. I know it's super optimistic. I know for a lot of people, they're like, well, Jay, you're bursting my bubble. You're killing my vibe right now. I just want to believe. Okay, what are you really believing? Well, I'm just believing that in time, things will get better. So you're just believing that things are just magically going to get better over time. How has that been working for you? Insanity. Once again, doing the same thing year after year, month after month, day after day. How has that been working out for you? You have to make a decision. You have to make a choice. You have to take an action. And I know for a lot of people, they're like, okay, I have to do something. Sometimes, honestly, the hardest thing you possibly would have to change is up here. Sometimes just changing a mental decision, having a mental shift can literally be the catalyst that changes everything in your life. So sometimes it's not necessarily an action. Sometimes it could be a mental decision or a mental shift that you have to make. But Jim Rohn says it this way: your life doesn't get better by chance. Your life gets better by change. Something has to happen. An action, a thought, a habit, something has to happen. Something has to shift. Something has to change in order for your life to change. Now, I will say this, depending on what that change is, let's be honest, it could get better, but depending on what that change is, it could potentially get worse. Let's be honest. That's why I say this lie, it sounds so good, but it really should be broken down a little bit deeper. Depending on what change you decide to make, things could get better, but if it's the wrong choice, it could potentially get worse. So I'm big on examples. Let's just say the context of relationships. You guys know me. I'm completely open and completely transparent. Sometimes I share a little bit too much, but it's just who I am. So for example, I looked at my relationship. I looked at my marriage and my relationship with my wife. One area that we struggled with for so long was communication. We struggled with communication for so long. And really, after looking at it, once again, if we decided to do nothing about it, nothing would really change. Actually, if we left it alone, the law of entropy, if we left it alone, it would potentially get worse. And we can look at so many relationships that don't take the time to work on what's not working for them. If they don't take the time to work on what's not working, they find themselves ending in divorce or finding themselves, if it's a friendship relationship, just completely destroying the relationship altogether. But we said, you know what? We got to be proactive with this. Look, we keep bumping heads over the same things and we realize, okay, communication, there's some gaps in our communication. So we really looked at it. One thing that helped us was the love languages test. Shout out to all those people, you know, just completely on that wavelength and on that train. It was Gary Chapman. Appreciate you guys for coming out with that material. Super life-changing. So one thing that we realized was, and actually, I'm gonna show you guys this here on the screen. This is something that we found. So for example, what I found was after taking the test, my love language, one of my love language is quality time. Right? So I'll just say, whoops, can't spell. There we go. That's not qualify, it's quality. Actually, I don't like that, so I'm gonna do it again. OCD, y'all forgive me. Quality, right? So this is my side. We'll speak on my side first. So quality time was huge for me. So in the context of love, in the context of communicating love, quality time is huge for me. Another thing is words. Words of affirmation. Words are real powerful to me, as you guys probably have realized. So words are real powerful to me. Now, for my wife, on the other hand, one of her big love languages and the way she receives loves is gifts. Gifts. Purses, bag. She's a big purse bag person. But honestly, flowers, a lot of those different acts of gestures and just signs of showing love. When I give gifts, oh man, it does something. It really moves the needle. And another one for her is acts of service. Acts of service. So if I'm communicating, man, let's just spend time together. Let's talk about our vision, our dreams, words of affirmation. So you're doing such a great job. If I'm talking, French, for example, I'm speaking love and hey, let's spend quality time. And I'm saying all those amazing things. If I'm speaking French, so to speak, and she's speaking Portuguese, and she's like, I don't understand what you're saying. I know you're trying to communicate to me, but it's not connecting. It's not connecting. Now, I digress. Once again, this isn't a relationship seminar, but the point I'm trying to get at is we had to really pause. We had to really look at and say, hey, we can't keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So in the context of relationships, we can easily see some things need to change, but it may not be relationships. The next steps for you, as we really break down, okay, where in my life have I believing this lie? As we look at our lives, I'm big on self-assessing. I literally look at different areas of my life and I'm like, all right, what am I proactively doing to move the needle in this area of my life? It may not be relationships. It may be business. In my business, maybe you don't own a business. At my job, in my career, what am I really believing and hoping for? Am I believing in that promotion? Am I believing things are going to get better on my job for the sake of just believing, this is going to be my year on my job. This is going to be the year where I earn as much money as I possibly can earn and make a difference in my job and make a difference in my workplace. That's a great hope and a great belief, but what are you actively doing to move the needle in that area? What changes are you making? Actually, we will go back to relationships, for example. So I know an individual that she's a single woman. She has a great job, but she works from home. She doesn't necessarily go to a gym. So if she does any workouts, she works out at home. She does grocery shopping on her phone, meaning the delivery. So she'll go grocery shopping on her home where they'll deliver the groceries to her home. She may go out occasionally with some friends out to dinner, etc., but they go really to the same places all the time. And she's believing to find somebody, she's believing to find a husband. She's believing to find somebody that she can have a relationship with and do life with. And I encourage her all the time. I'm like, that's super, you know what, that's great. And I see she reads at home and she's trying to work on herself. I see all of that. But I encourage her, where is this individual? Where are you going to find this individual? A lot of times we just think this individual is just going to pop up. We think these things that are just going to magically show up in our life. Things are just going to get better. This is the year I'm going to find somebody. Great. How are they going to show up? You're at home literally 80% of the time. You're at home. You work from home. You work out at home. You don't necessarily go to the grocery store. I encourage her, hey, instead of working from home is a blessing. Great. Absolutely. Instead of working from home 5 days a week, maybe you work at a coffee shop on a Friday. Maybe you try to find one of those co-sharing spaces and you invest in working outside of the home. Hey, I know you grocery shopping. I know you make, germaphobe. Hey, I don't want to be out with people and all that. Okay, great. Maybe you don't grocery shop completely, but maybe you just go to the store 1 day a week or maybe once a month. Maybe you change your environments. Maybe you change those habits. Maybe you just make those small changes so that way you can get a different result. But honestly, I encourage you, if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same results. So I promise, in the context of relationships, in the context of your work or business, honestly, in the context of your health, true story. Once again, I always show you guys how I apply this into my own life. There was a period of my life where I literally went to the gym for like 2 years consistently. When I say consistently, in a 52-week year, I went to the gym at least, and I literally tracked it. So this isn't something that I'm just guessing. In a 52-week year, I went to the gym at least 42 to 45 weeks out of the year. Now, in some areas, I did see some muscle, I did see some change, but in my mind, I'm like, man, I thought I'd be here. I thought I'm doing things that's moving the needle, but I didn't make any change in my diet. I still ate the same snacks. This was back at a time where I used to be in sales, and at the top of the day, they would have a sales meeting and they had donuts and they had all the goodie pastries and snacks. And it's like, wait a minute, I'm moving the needle in the gym. Okay, great. But I'm not moving the needle in my diet. I didn't change anything in my diet. And it's like this may sound so simple for so many people. They're like, okay, I get it. Nothing changes if nothing changes. But I promise you, if you look in your personal life or if you look at the people around you, there's an area in our lives where we're believing for something to change, but we're not doing anything about it. Or we're not doing moving the needle activity, and therefore we're frustrated when we don't get the results that we want. So as I close, I just wanted to encourage you guys. Listen, this is a lie that sounds too good to be true. Things don't just get better for the sake of getting better. I will continually encourage people and motivate people and say, hey, yeah, things will eventually get better for sure. But I always ask, what are you doing to move the needle in your life to see the results that we ultimately want to see? What are you doing to produce the change that you ultimately want to see? And I promise, if you self-assess, if you really look at your life and ask yourself this question, okay, what are some areas of my life that I'm just really believing things are going to get better, but I'm not doing anything different? And I promise you, if you do that and if you make those change, not only will you see the results that you want, but you'll start to live a compelling life that encourages so many other people. So as always, I ask for 3 things. Hopefully you guys found this video valuable. If so, go ahead and click the like button. Definitely share it to an individual that could be encouraged as well. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe and join the tribe, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.